Welcome back to Chi TV, the podcast where we unpack the human experience. Today we have Amy, and we're former roommates,
Yes.
and now interview. Hi, Amy, how you doing today?
Hey, Sachi, I'm doing good. Happy to be here. So
Oh,
excited to talk to you and catch up. It's been forever.
it really has like 3+ years.
It's been forever.
Wow. Well, thank you for being here today.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here and I'm gonna give you all my energy. Excuse me if I seem low energy because I was out yesterday with friends. So I'm trying to regroup from that, but I'm here. I'm here.
Sounds like you had a good time then. If it's like a regroup type
Yes,
type
yes.
situation. Okay. That no worries, it's fine.
Mm.
So before I get into like the questions I have, could you kind of give a brief rundown of who you are, what you do, all of the things, if you had to bio yourself.
Okay, so my name is Amy Osakwe, and I graduated from law school last year. But before I get into that, I guess I'll tell a little bit about myself. So I am 28 years old. I live in Corona right now, and just, I have a passion of being an attorney. So I went to law school. I graduated last year, and I recently took the bar. So I'm waiting for my results. So disclaimer: I'm not officially an attorney yet. Once God willing, I get those passing results, I'll officially be a lawyer. But right now, it's just I'm in this period of just like, I'm not a law student anymore, but I'm not an attorney. So I'm like post bar student, I guess you could say, or just post bar individual is what the term is. So I'm just working right now. I work at a workers' compensation defense law firm. And essentially, what that is, it's just I represent employers, like businesses such as like Walgreens, CVS, just different businesses whenever their employees sue them. So I'm on their side, and it's an opportunity that came up and I took it, and it's just a good starting point for me in my career. So, I don't know where God will take me in the future, but I'm happy where I'm at now. So that's me.
Okay. And is that the type of law that you hope to focus on? What, because like I remember when we lived together, you had talked about entertainment law being what really interests you. Has that changed, or are you still like pursuing entertainment law long term?
Right now I'm really open. I'm really open. Right now, I just know for a fact, and through law school, I learned that I'm very passionate about helping people. Like truly, I think that that really fulfills me. So I know eventually I'm gonna get there because, like I said, I'm representing businesses right now, and I feel like it's a part of the plan. But I don't know what the future holds. I'm very open to it, but I know for a fact that, I see myself in the courtroom. I see myself, way in the future having my own firm, even. And it, I'm not sure about the path yet, but I'm open. Entertainment, criminal, personal injury. So I'm just open right now.
Okay, love that for you. Supportive for you. I'm sure you are one of the hardest working people I've ever seen. And that doesn't mean like you have to work all the time, but even I remember like your routines, your dedication to things definitely inspired me when we lived together. So I'm sure you'll get there. Even if the path isn't clear on how to get there, I know that if anybody on this planet will figure out how to get there, it would be you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for the bio, the intro.
Yeah.
My first question, usually to everyone, is how are you really? Because I mean, not like the base. I mean, unless you are good, but like good, great. If it's kind of a low day, kind of like what you mentioned in terms of going out the other day. But how are you really, truly?
Um, right now I'm good. Honestly, like I genuinely feel pretty content right now. And I say that like personally, financially, and even spiritually. But I feel like there's always room to grow. I'm always striving to be better and better. But I feel like I've gotten to a point where I'm like at peace. Like I don't need to have, a lot of things. And I feel like, growing up, especially like during college, I was like not making the best decisions when it came to guys or friends, and just feeling like I needed to be in the mix, and just now I'm like I feel like I'm living for me. Like what do I want to do,
Okay.
and I feel like I had a mindset back then of like, okay, how can I like make others like how do I make other people comfortable? How do I fit in here? But now I live by like how do people fit in with me?
Mm.
How do people make me feel? How do so I kind of switched it, and it's very like liberating ever since I kind of have this new mindset of just like living for me, and allowing people to come into my life who I feel like is of value, and who's positive and good for me,
Okay.
instead of trying to fit in other people's lives.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That's a
Yeah.
huge, I feel like, mindset
Yeah.
shift for sure. I'm sure it's brought you more peace
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
This isn't, I guess, directly a question that I had planned, but was it like a particular situation that caused that shift, or was it just like time and experiences that you eventually were kind of like, you noticed that and then began to shift it?
I think it was just law school. Like law school really changed me. It was one of the hardest things ever, other than like my dad passing away. That was, I feel like, the best, or not the best, excuse me. Like I meant to say the worst thing that's ever happened to me. And law school, I would say, is like the second hardest, not worst thing that's happened to me. So, you know, with my whole dad experience, that was hard, but definitely law school was like it just changed me.
Hmm.
It isolated me. I moved to San Francisco. I was alone. I was just away from family and friends, and like I just went through, trying to adapt and figure out how to even do well in law school. So that really forced me to like just okay, like you need to figure this out. Like you need to be team Amy here. You don't have time for anything else or nobody. So I kind of came out of that, like out of the trenches to this new person.
Okay. Okay. That's kind of beautiful though, how it made you go through your own personal evolution, being kind of forced
Yeah,
to deal with that and kind of forced to do that reflection. I
yeah,
feel like that's what UCL, my entire undergrad was for me because I was kind of isolated from my family. They're all on the East Coast. And it's not definitely not the same, but it did force me to reflect on myself and then who I wanted to be. And it sounds like that's what law school did for you.
yes, yes,
That's
exactly.
And I know, like, I've known you a long time, but still, I'm sure, the passing of your dad is very difficult. So I'm sorry for your loss. And I know that that's not something that ever fully goes away. So,
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a hard time to get through. But I feel like everything happens for a reason. And I guess what I was trying to say too earlier when I brought up the whole like best thing, because you know when my dad did pass away, that was when I got accepted to UCLA. That drive, came from that. Like, okay, life is so short. My dad was big on education, so like I want to make him proud. So it was the worst slash best thing that happened for me, because it's like it that also played a role in who I am today and having that motivation. I know we'll get to that later, but it hard times, there's beauty in the struggle. Ultimately,
that's a fact.
there's beauty in it.
That's definitely a
There's
fact. I have a feeling I know it. I have an idea of who I think at least one of them is, but cause kind of based on what you were just talking about. But have there
Yeah,
been three people in your life that have influenced you, and how did they influence and impact you? I have a feeling your dad might be one of them.
100%. Yes. My dad and my mom and my brother.
Okay.
My family. I've always been very close to family. And so I'm half Guatemalan and half Nigerian. And, all my Nigerian side, they're all in Nigeria. And on my Guatemalan side, I have two aunts and one uncle here. So majority of those sides are just, not here in America. So like it was always just me, my brother, and my mom and dad growing up. We didn't have like family big parties and stuff like that, cousins running around. It was just very tight knit.
Mhm.
And then when my dad passed, it made us even more tight knit. So, being with them, my mom, my dad, and my brother, starting off with my parents, just being immigrant parents and seeing how far they've come and what it took to get to where they are is inspiring always to me. It's like I've developed this mindset like you just have no excuse. You like Amy, you have no excuse. Look at your mom literally, she tells me these stories. I don't know if she's being dramatic, but I literally walked here from Guatemala. Like you have no excuse to be successful. My dad used to tell me, oh my, he was always like finding ways to make money and he didn't even have clothes. He would wear like a bag of salt to cover his private parts. He didn't have nothing, he still made it. So it's funny now, but if you really think about it, to survive here, in the United States, it's not easy, and I always admire my parents for that. And quickly about my brother, so he is a basketball player. He plays overseas he's been in Turkey, Germany, Spain, and his work ethic is just unmatched, and that inspires me. Like you think I work hard, you haven't met my brother. Like he's up 4 in the morning, just getting reps up, and that inspires me. So
Wow. Have you and your brother always been like that, or was that something that was like cultivated over time? Like, especially with having, I feel like families that are from like immigrant families, that's just like always a part of the culture is that you got to keep, you have to work hard. Usually education is a big one. So do you feel like it came from that, or do you feel like it's innate a little bit for the both of you?
as far as like me and my brother's relationship or our work ethic,
Your work ethic.
um, yeah, I think it's an innate thing. I think it's truly an innate thing, because my parents, same thing. My mom is extremely hardworking, but also just the environment they cultivated for my brother and I. Just seeing them working hard, getting up every day at 6 to go to work, and not taking any vacations and just grinding and grinding and grinding.
Yeah.
It definitely teaches you, like me and my brother, to work as well.
Okay. That's beautiful. I know it's difficult not having a lot of my extended families also in Nigeria as well.
Mhm.
So and I kind of grew up, and most of my cousins are spread out across the country. So my family and I also grew up kind of only with each other for the most part. Like occasionally we'd see our other family members, but it was really us. And that does shape you a lot, having to be around, like, not necessarily having other influences family wise. So it's beautiful that for y'all that turned into being kind of like close knit family and letting them influence you the way that they have.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, I wouldn't change it. I feel like it's unique, in a sense where I've never met another Guatemalan and Nigerian person. I've met Nigerian and white, Nigerian and Mexican, but Nigerian and Guatemalan, it's special, and I've learned to really appreciate it and embrace it.
I get
Mm,
that it is special. I've also never met another person who's Nigerian Guatemala, not that specifically.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Okay. I love it for you. I love it for you. And I'm happy that you have a blessed family that seems to love and support you the way that they do.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I know you said you feel like for you and your brother, your work ethic is innate, but do you feel like it's that innate, I guess, work ethic that motivates you, or is there something else outside of that that motivates you? I know you kind of before mentioned helping people also as a motivator. Where where does that how do those all work together?
Yeah. So going back to the whole innate thing, yes, I definitely feel like I naturally enjoy like working, just working, like the process of working towards something and having a goal and accomplishing it. But I feel like as far as like outside factors that motivates me, I think it's so internal for me. It's like I have this idea in my head of like this woman and myself, this higher self that she's reached every potential, like everything, every goal that I've set for myself. She's there. She's, in shape. She's, you know, just financially, spiritually, physically, um, all of it just has it going on. Perfect, 10 out of 10, in my eyes. And it's like I have her there and I'm getting closer. It's like each year I'm getting closer and closer, to this person. And that motivates me. It's like I see the life she lives. I see the car she drives, the house she has, and the husband she has, the kids. Like I see it like clearly, and it's like that. I truly think what motivates me. I see the impact she has, and it's like this is so crazy because it's like randomly, like, I know this may sound insane, but like when I'm driving sometimes, like I'll like pretend that I'm doing speeches and like talking to myself like this, like interviewing. And it's crazy that I'm doing this interview right now because I already knew I was going to do this, like
Mm.
something very just like this. And I think this is only the beginning, not only for me, but for you as well, Sachi, because I see great things, but it's just like, um, I'm just getting closer and closer to this higher self. And that truly is what motivates me.
Okay, okay. It's crazy
Yes.
as you describe that, I know obviously the
Hmm.
vision, you will see it the clearest until it's, tangible, but as you described that, I saw it for you too. I felt it in the energy in your voice. I could see even just from what I know of you as a person, I could see I like, this might also sound crazy, but I could see, like, energetically the vision of that higher self that you were describing
Okay.
to me. It felt clear, like, it felt clear and concrete.
Mhm, mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
I love that for you. That's beautiful though, especially to have that clear of a vision though, because I feel like there are so many people in the world who wander life and don't really have a clear vision, and can't really see that higher version of themselves and they kind of just feel lost. And I think it's
yeah,
beautiful that you have that because it can always guide you home, quote unquote. Like even if you end up getting lost for a little bit, having that clear vision of yourself sounds like it's something that brought, like, even the fact that you came to the realization that you did about what type of person you wanted to be and how you wanted to live and who you wanted to surround yourself by. It sounds like that was her guiding you closer to her.
yes, exactly, exactly, and that's why, yeah, I've learned, um, especially even during UCLA, and we would have our deep talks of just things I was going through, things you were going through,
Mhm.
and it's like during those times, like I remember like little Amy, and I'm still young, I'm 28, but I always think of college Amy, even law school Amy. In the moment of stress and anxiety, it's like, you're so tunnel visioned and like um, suffocated by the stress and anxiety of whatever it was. For me, it was law school and UCLA. Adapting to it, that was difficult for me too, and relationship issues and friend issues, and like you don't realize the bigger picture, how it's forming, like molding you to who you're supposed to be at the end of the day. Because I truly feel that there's no coincidences. Like everything happens for a reason, you
Mhm.
know. So I definitely, I now appreciate like the hardships that I went through, and I will continue to appreciate the hardships going forward because, anything, when especially if God has something like great for you, it's not going to be easy.
Mhm.
So nothing great is easy. So I get that too.
Okay, I get that too. I feel like UCLA, I'm sure law school did that to you too, but UCLA
Oh
definitely
yeah,
was a
yeah,
example of that for me too. That was one of the hardest, like, emotionally, physically, and spiritually,
mhm,
all the leads periods of
yeah,
my life and really challenged me to figure out who I wanted to be.
yeah,
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 okay.
yeah, yeah.
So, law, this actually wasn't a question that I had originally planned, but what drew you to law into as opposed to other things, because there's a lot of different ways to make an impact. Why law?
It was actually at UCLA is when I realized, okay, I want to do something big. I want to do something respected. I want to do something like where I can make a huge impact. And when people ask me like, what do you do? Um, they say, wow, really? Like, wow, I like that. I don't know. I'm like that. I know it sounds weird, but I like that the impact that you can make with law. And I think being around smart people, I've always thought you were literally a genius, Sachi, believe it or not. I don't know if I ever told you. Your major was like I can never say it, like microbiology, Scientology, like some insane thing. And I loved it. Every time you said it, it just made me so happy. Like, yes, yes.
Thank you.
And I was meeting just so many amazing people at UCLA, just smart, people even trying to cure cancer, just crazy. I remember having conversations, just genius conversations, just soaking it in and listening. And I felt like, okay, like these people are dope. These people are amazing. Like, what do I bring to the table? Like, who am I? And I remember before transferring to UCLA, I wanted to be a social worker. Honestly, I wanted to be a social worker, and nothing wrong with social work at all. I think it's beautiful. It's beautiful work, but you know, I definitely had a wake up call. Like, okay, something was like, Amy, no, bigger, think bigger. What else? Like, what else can you do?
Okay.
And again, no disrespect to social work, but I something triggered me in UCLA's environment, like that I needed to do something top notch. Loved that for me because it pushed me. So I was like, law. I like I like not only the aesthetic of law, the courtroom and the suits, but also the challenge of it. I knew it was going to be hard, but I was like, okay, my dad passed, life is short. Let's do something big. Let's just go for it and see what happens. And now I'm here.
Okay. I love that for you. I mean, we do need more Black people, I feel like, in both of those roles, law and social work.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to see you pursuing law. And I'm sure that whatever area you pursue in law, your presence already makes an impact by just being an example. There will be little girls one day who grow up and might see you in the courtroom one day, or might see you in an environment, or even see you on social media and be like, wow, this girl is a lawyer
Hmm.
and she's Black and she likes to be stylish. I too want all of those things. And that in itself is an impact just
Yeah.
to be in that role. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
and I love that you pinpointed this stylish idea because it's like I do consider myself very multifaceted. Like, yes, I'm in law, and I'm not your typical lawyer. I'm not going to be your typical like boring, quiet, very conservative. Even though I do have a sense of modesty and conservative, but like I am going to dress nicely. I do have curves. Like I'm not afraid to show them in a nice way. Like I'm gonna be myself no matter what, you know?
That's important too, because I feel like we
Yeah,
actually need to see that more,
yeah.
than just like a very rigid version of what, for women, I feel like a very rigid version of what a professional is. Because I think there's a lot of ways to still be professional. I would consider
Mhm.
Beyonce a professional and she wears unitards, but like she's still
Oh,
professional too. But I know for it depends on the profession. And in a lot of professions, it's more open minded than others. But I do think we need that kind of visual. I definitely little girls need that visual to be like, you don't have to, dress
yeah,
completely covered and everything. Cause I also don't necessarily like that. And that doesn't mean you have to be half naked all the time either, but just be
yeah,
yourself.
yeah,
Whatever that
yeah.
means, whatever that looks like, whatever your style is, be that. And I love that you kind of stand unapologetically in that.
Mhm,
I think
mhm.
I,
Makes perfect sense.
yeah. Has I'm coming up with questions I didn't even have planned, but has
Okay,
that
go ahead.
influenced your dynamic in legal environments at all? Or have you felt it ever influence? Or have people been overall so far accepting of you being like your stylish self?
So far, yes, I feel like it's literally worked out for me, I feel like,
Okay.
personally. And let me make it clear. I'm not showing up to court or like my work in a bra,
Yeah.
like crop top. I'm not showing up like that. I'm pretty covered, but I have stylish clothes that I like to wear that I might that I like to wear. Law itself, it's very conservative. You want to have the low buns, low ponytails, the light natural makeup, the short nails, just very um that look, like a very calm look. And that's a beautiful look. I actually don't mind it. But there are some days I want to have little longer nails, like a pointier nail, and just little things like that. My skirt, I like my clothes a little more fitted. And for myself, it has nothing to do with anyone else, but I like to feel good. And I think it's when I feel good, I work better.
Mhm.
So it's a thing for me, it has nothing to do with anyone else. But I do see that like when I'm embracing this of myself, it's like I've gotten hired. It's played a role in my success because you look good, you feel good, and you perform good, and people feel it. Like even for this interview, putting a little makeup and fixing myself, it's just it does something. It's just me, and it just helps me perform better. I know if that sounds good or bad, but that's just me.
No, it makes total sense. I've heard that before too, just like even the way your brain processes things. Like do your
Yeah.
best when you feel your best, and that can be when you're dressed your best, whatever that is for you. You feel comfortable in the clothes that you're in. The same way I
Right.
guess you'd be comfortable in the skin that you're in. So I definitely understand that. Okay, and no, that makes total sense. I feel the same. STEM is very similar in that way, where it's kind of rigid for what type of person you're supposed to be. And
Mhm.
when you step outside of that, that can be very uncomfortable, but it also doesn't feel fulfilling. Like if you're not being true to yourself, it's not fulfilling. So
Yeah.
I'm happy that you are able to do that and still feel like you've been able to find the respect that you deserve. Because I'm sure that that's a concern that, people who are interested in law might be feeling like, oh, I like to dress stylishly too. I like fitted clothes too, but I don't know if I'm going to, get hired over that. And it's good to hear that, you've gone through it and you have, like, you've stayed true to yourself and continue to find
Yeah.
success.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll throw this out there too. Like, I mean, I've heard like the attorneys that I even work for, like they'll say when I first started, like, "Oh, Amy's getting all dressed up. Like, okay, we'll see her in a few years. Like, she's still new. She doesn't know how hard it is." But in my head, I just laugh with them. So you'll hear comments like that, especially from the older attorneys if they see you really doing your makeup and like, oh, she's getting all ready. Like you don't have time for that. But for me, even I see myself years and years from now, even keeping up with my appearance
Mhm.
because as an attorney, you meet clients, you want to give off a good impression, you want to smell good, look good. That's just me. I don't ever see myself like I can't let myself go. Like I can't.
I know that from personal experience that you cannot. But I have mad respect for you for that because I feel like you always radiated like, I don't know, just like a good energy. And I feel like it's because of how you take care of yourself. And I feel like
Yeah.
that you make time for the things that you care about. You can do it. It might be difficult. Somebody else might not prioritize it, but from what I've seen with you, you've always been a person who's prioritized taking care of yourself, whatever that looks like.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So that's something I do take pride in, for sure. Just taking care of myself and inside internally too. I try. I'm not perfect. There's things I'm still working on. And maybe I need to even figure out too. You're making me think why do I always want to like take care of myself? Why do I feel that I need to look, not perfect, but where does that come from?
Mhm.
So that's something I need to look deeper into too to make sure that's, a healthy thing because, but then so far it has worked for me.
Mhm.
It's helped me. It's just who I am, like I said, but it's just something that I just thought of.
Okay, I'm glad. Well, that's the point of this entire podcast slash show is really everybody's self-discovery. I want this to be a space that facilitates self-discovery, both for you being the person I'm interviewing, but also anybody who's listening to this and listening to your story after this, for them to think and reflect on the questions or see, resonate with something in your story where they're like, oh, I've gone through that too. And it's good to hear that she came out of it on this side, or I'm in the middle of this. So I don't
Yeah.
know how I'm going to get through it. And hearing your story might help them get to the other side. That is really what I want this space to be. So I'm glad, at least in this case, it was that for you and that it facilitated you to reflect.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. I know we talked about the original idea of me interviewing came from one of the reels that I made, and it was talking about taking care of yourself because I think you and I had a lot of deep conversations, but there's like two or three that really stood out to me. And one of them was my side of the room not being taken care of very well. And you were very much right though. Like that was a reflection of what was going on in my mental space. And for you at that time, that really seemed like one of the like laws that you had about life was about taking care of yourself and your space, and that it's important to take, obviously, some days are busier than others, but like you really should prioritize that. And I think it was you who told me like you could take an extra 15 seconds to put a piece of clothing on a hanger over like just throwing it on the floor the way that I had been doing for a little bit. And that really stood out to me because I was like 15 seconds really isn't that much if you think about it. So that might not be what you think it is, but do you have three laws of life that Amy lives by? It doesn't necessarily have to be legal related, but just like fundamental things that you feel like everyone for me, at least from what I know about you, that's at least one of them was how you take care of your outside space is a reflection of your inside space. But if you have a
Yeah.
different three, what would they be?
Well, okay, really quick before I list them, I want to say that really makes my day that I've, like you said, impacted you in that sense, like that I kind of opened your eyes when it came to that, and you hold it till this day. Like that really warms my heart, and I feel like that's truly what life is about. When I say I want to help people, I want to, when I die one day, like I want someone to say, "Oh, Amy made me feel good. She taught me this." Like something, just something small, and that's not even that. Literally makes my whole life. So I'm glad that I was able to help you in some way. I
Oh.
had to say that. All right. So, I mean, 3 laws that I live by. Number 1, I even have it here. Take care of yourself. I'm not even kidding. It's so simple, but let me break it down. Let me break this down. It's literally like take care of yourself internally so you can feel good out externally and you can perform well. So I have these other lists. Number 1, whatever you do, give it your all. That's like a law I live by. Whatever you decide to do, give it your all. Do not half-ass it. That just means you don't want it. Like whatever it is you really want to do, give it your all. And then number 2, enjoy failure and uncomfortability.
Hmm.
Before I break those down, going back to number 1, take care of yourself. You can't do 1 and 2, whatever it is, give your all or enjoy failure and uncomfortability unless you take care of yourself. You need to be able to recognize that failure and uncomfortability is good for you. And how do you recognize that is by, doing the inner work, taking care of your inner work, talking it out, reflecting. You want to, whatever you do, give it your all. If working out is a big goal for you, taking care of yourself physically, internally to keep you encouraged and going to go to the gym, and all this plays a part. Taking care of yourself plays a part in everything. If you don't have that, you don't have success in anything. So it's like when you take care of yourself, I mean, it's so simple, but I literally mean taking care of yourself internally and physically. And that it even goes further physically, you know the appearance, your hair, your skin. Keep yourself up. Do mask on your hair, put mask on your skin. Keep your lips moisturized. Do your eyebrows, do your nails. If you don't have to have fake nails, but you know clean the cuticles, like, lotion your neck, your crevices, like feel good, like, and turn externally everywhere. Like, wear deodorant, smell good, all of that. Take care of it. Like, I'm literally lotion every crevice from the toes to your neck, literally. And then internally, you know, whoever's spiritual, for me, it's praying. I'm a Christian, so that plays a part too. Is praying a lot, and I haven't been doing my best with reading my Bible. I haven't opened my Bible in a minute, and like I have to work on that. But praying, and then therapy. That's something that I want to start getting into. Um, writing down your goals and all those manifestation plus prayer, all these things. These are the inner works. So that all falls under the take care of yourself. But it's so important. I feel like people don't really know how important that is. You
Mhm.
know.
I agree.
So
I didn't know how important it was until I really like you and I lived side by side. So seeing how you lived and took care of
I
yourself
mean,
as opposed to how I was taking care of myself. And I mean, at that time when we're having that like when you had that conversation with me, I was struggling a
mhm,
lot with my mental health as well.
yeah,
So, like, just, I mean, I know, it's not healthy to always compare yourself to people, but like, if we use them as parallels, though, like at that time, obviously, I'm sure your life was not perfect by any means. No one's is, but just you
yeah,
seem to have a more organized lifestyle. You seem to feel good about yourself and have confidence in feeling good about yourself because you took care of it. Whereas I kind of was like lost and struggling with my mental health. And I feel like I didn't realize the value of it until really living next to you and seeing how much little things did for you and how much it made you happy. Like I know you would spend time with yourself for a little bit, like doing self-care at your desk and things like that. And I never really did that. I didn't even have a space to do that because all of my clothes were everywhere. But little things like that, I didn't see how valuable it was until I really was faced with somebody in front of it. So I'm glad we're having this conversation so that other people who don't necessarily understand it or haven't been prioritizing it can maybe reflect on that, but also how easy it is to do or how simple it is. Because I think in my head, it seemed like it was like so much to do, taking care of yourself. And when you really sat with me and you were like, Sachi, you could put your clothes on the hanger, it takes 10 seconds. And in that 10 seconds, now you never have to see that piece of clothing on like around your space anymore. It's like where it's supposed to be. And that really, really shifted things for me because I was like, wow, it's really not that hard. In that moment, it's just like making that choice, that little choice of like, I'm gonna just hang this up instead of throwing it. It's 10 seconds, but like 10 seconds I can give to this. And I feel like that might be something people also don't realize, that it's really not as difficult as you might think it is to take care of yourself. It doesn't have to be this
Yeah.
whole big thing. It really starts in the little things.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like you said, I am not perfect. I didn't come from a perfect home. It's just something that I learned on the way. And myself as a transfer student, and you were at UCLA the whole time, and we kind of grew together in a sense. And I recognize that. I didn't judge you. I didn't judge you. I was like, I'm gonna just speak through my actions. I live literally right with her. She'll either see it. There's either two people in this world how I view it. It's like you would have either judged me in a sense where, oh, she thinks she's too good, because I'm essentially holding a mirror up to you.
Hmm.
Like, okay, this girl is organized, she's clean, she's working out, and when someone is not doing that, and then someone is kind of holding a mirror, like, oh, I'm doing this, it shows you, like, oh, you're not doing this. You either become defensive and you start to judge them, look at them in a negative light. And even then, even if you were, I never got that energy from you, but even if you were to do that, I would still not even be mad at you. But the fact that you were like, okay, I want to learn, I want to change, I want to work towards it. I may fail a few times, but I'm gonna get back up. I'm gonna keep trying. I'm gonna have hard days, but I'm gonna try today to hang my clothes up. That already tells me that, you're gonna go extremely far in life because, when you see somebody doing something like great, you're not gonna be jealous. You admire and you learn. You learn. If you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's what success is about too. But I'm by no means perfect. It's something that I worked towards, and I'm trying to get better. I have my lazy days too, but it's like when my spaces are clean, I feel better. When I'm clean, my hair is clean, I feel better. But there are days where I'm tired. I'm literally exhausted. So that's okay too,
Mhm.
but balancing back is what the key is. Keep getting back to the routine.
Yeah. No, that makes so I feel the same now having learned from you, and I never thought don't think reflecting on that time I had that energy towards you. I think I looked at you kind of like an older sibling, like an older sister in that way, and like seeing an older sister who's kind of had life, quote unquote, a little bit more figured out than I had. So then I was like, well, how do I get there? Like, how do I also be, because I had appreciated the life that you were building for yourself. Not that it was perfect, but just that you had at least found some form, like you took care of yourself. You almost always, I mean, everyone has their lazy days too, but almost always like would put a fit together, and I was rocking sweatpants for like a solid year of college. And you always put it together. And I could tell, especially in the time that you spent by yourself or like just in our apartment, that you did it for yourself. Like obviously to some
Yeah,
extent we're very young, so like there might be aspects of things that we do for other people, but you did self-care from what I saw to take care of you because you knew it was important for you. And then I saw how that radiated outwards for you. And that is something that I wanted to take as well. And it does make an impact. Like now, anytime I'm anxious, I usually start to look around the house. And then I'm like, okay, well, you haven't actually done laundry in a few days, Sachi. It's probably because things are starting to pile up. And that also mentally feels like things are piling up. You should do that. And I'll take
yeah.
a day and I'll like reset my house. And
Mhm.
that was a huge shift. It really did change the way the end of college worked for me. Like the habits that I saw you do, I really implemented for myself. And I attribute a lot of that mental shift to what being the reason that I was able to graduate, because I don't think I would have if I had continued doing the habits I was doing prior to that. Yeah.
Proud of you. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. I really am.
Thank you. I'm proud of you too.
Thank you.
I appreciate it though.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate your support and the fact that you always came at me really with real talk. That's something I have a lot. And even I feel like when people give real talk, not everybody wants to hear it in the moment, you know? And it
Yeah.
can be uncomfortable. And so I think there are certain periods where I received it a little bit faster than other times, but I always respected you for coming at me real. And you weren't just kind of like, be all nice and fluffy. You were like, Sachi, no, you really should correct this. I remember one of the days, I think it was supposed to do a speaking thing and it didn't work out. Like it was the Winston Beat scholarship thing, and I was supposed to speak that day and it didn't. And I remember you pulled me aside and you kind of were just like, I understand that you're upset, but like you can still do great things. Like this isn't because I remember being very distraught. And the way that you talked to me about that, I was like, fair enough. But in the moment, I was like, I wanted to be upset and have my pity party. And you kind of were like, yes, but no. Like the
Mhm.
pity party doesn't solve
It
anything.
doesn't. It doesn't. Yeah, no, I love that. Like, if you think of any more stories, like I love hearing about that because I remember a lot. I remember the wild times, the just the fun party stuff we would do for Emily's. I remember just I would have my crazy friends come over. At the time,
I
I
remember
would,
this.
we would have our deep talks. We would talk about boys. We would just be, roommates. So I remember.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember the crazy times too. That was fun. You and your family, y'all brought energy too, though.
I'm sorry. So that was just wild, man. I
I
just think
mean, you lived life.
about
Fair enough. You were unapologetically living your life. I can't help but respect that. That's funny though.
wild. Oh my god. Anyway, good times, good
Okay.
times.
Good times, for real. Okay. I know you so we talked about why you chose law a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
From your perspective, how does law affect the average person's daily life, when they might not realize it? Because I know, obviously, as a lawyer, law affects your life every day. But for the average person, I feel like we might not always think about it like that, like not really be thinking about how law is influencing us daily. So from your perspective, how does it influence just people?
Well, that's a pretty big question. So,
Mhm.
I mean, in every way, I feel like people don't realize how, our whole society, our whole structure is built off laws, and policies, from our constitutional rights to we have the First Amendment, Second Amendment, Third Amendment, Sixth Amendment right to counsel, to have an attorney. These are all laws that pertain to us as individuals and how things are, how the streets are built, um, how fast we drive. These are all like literally our whole life, everything from schooling to our upbringings to driving to even family. Like our laws are literally intertwined of how we're supposed to do things. So I always, it's another reason too. I learned this throughout law school. It's like um, the importance of knowing the law too, like just knowing your rights. And not everyone has access to that information. And it's like well, especially like lower income communities, they don't, Black and brown communities, I see a lot of disparities when it comes to that, not knowing their rights. And that's why, like, going back to what you said earlier, it's so crucial that people of color go into this field so they can spread the word and for themselves know their rights and to be protected. So yeah, it's very intertwined. It's very intertwined in all our lives. And that's why it's so important to, I mean, you don't have to become a lawyer and pursue law, but like, put yourself on game. Put yourself on game with just knowing the amendments, and just um doing your research, asking questions when you do meet a lawyer. Um, and just trying to get that knowledge and pursue that. So like it's so important. It's definitely so important.
Okay. I love that.
Mhm.
Even when you said the way the roads are built, I was like, I never thought about it like that. But that is a good point. I'm
Yeah.
sure there was a law that was decides that. And I'm glad I asked that question just for anybody in the future listening too, because I think that's really important. Like everything you described, some of them I hadn't really thought about how they family. I mean, it makes sense when you said it, but I on a day-to-day basis, I don't think a lot of us think about that. Like there are
Yeah.
laws that are protecting you as a child. There are laws that are protecting both parents, to make sure that they're
Mhm.
in healthy environments. Like there's so many things that
Yeah.
are going on in the background that make everything function quote unquote smoothly as they do
Yes.
today.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just encourage that, like I said, you don't have to be a lawyer, but just being aware that there are laws everywhere. That's just first step. Being aware that there are laws everywhere, and I just it comes straight to my mind. If you're coming across police or, um, if you're about to do something wrong, something criminal, just keep that in mind. Like you're potentially going to be in jail for this, or who you associate with. All these things can play a part in your trajectory in life, and that's why I love law too, because it's like it's so important. It literally can change someone's life, especially in the criminal sector.
Mm,
I'm talking very broadly, but I don't want to get too deep into like the legal aspects and giving like legal advice because I can't do that yet. But just know that law is just it's so ingrained in our structure, and people should take it seriously and be aware of the decisions that they make, be aware of their rights, and yeah, it's important.
I love that answer. I also have to move because apparently my laptop is dying. So I'm
Oh,
changing location.
that's
Okay.
okay.
I did have another question for you though. And if you don't know right now, that is okay. I might ask later if you know of any resources as well for black and brown people to like understand and learn. I also know you have a TikTok and I didn't know if that's maybe something on TikTok. But I was going to ask if you off the top of your head can think of that you feel like every person, but particularly black and brown people should keep in mind, like one or two of them that we don't necessarily always think about. That might be too general though. That's okay.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Well, speaking really quick of TikTok, I do part of my TikTok trajectory is like wanting to encourage students of color to pursue law,
Okay.
to get in the legal field. So I'm, talking about how to get into law school, how to applying for law school, applying for jobs after law school. So definitely, if that's something that they're interested in, definitely use me as a resource. Um, as far as like, just from the top of my head, just because criminal justice is just very prominent in the Black community, as far as like Black and Brown community when it comes to policing. Immediately, I do think of, Sixth Amendment right. You have your Sixth Amendment right to counsel, that everyone, if you can't afford an attorney, you do have the right to an attorney. The state of California will appoint one for you. And that's very basic. I feel like a lot of people know that, but just in case if you didn't. And, we do have something called our Miranda rights, our Fifth Amendment Miranda rights. And again, I'm speaking mainly for um, our criminal justice system, because I feel like this is a very big issue in the Black and Brown communities. So we have something called our Fifth Amendment rights, which is called Miranda, is an umbrella that falls into the Fifth Amendment, which essentially is um, a police officer must inform you that you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say or do will be used against you. So you have to be told this before they arrest you, from my understanding. And if they don't, they can get in serious trouble. So there's a lot more to it. But just know, like little things like this, it's knowing that you can be silent. You don't have to speak to a police if you feel like you're, if you're wrong or you're right, whatever. You don't have to speak to a police. Not to get into politics, but it's like it can be very intimidating when you're in front of a police officer, the uniform and the energy. It's like you want to listen. And I encourage you to, listen, but also know your rights, that if you believe that you genuinely didn't do something, that you don't have to speak to them. You can invoke your Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. Okay. And things like this. And again, Sixth Amendment right to counsel, you can invoke that clearly. Make sure you say it clearly. Because if you say it like, should I get an attorney? After they've warned you, they've said the little warning, and whatever you say can be used against you. So, like, let me back up. Let me make sure, I want to make sure I'm saying it clear. So, we have the Fifth Amendment right, Miranda, where a police officer must say this before they arrest you and use any incriminating statements against you in the court, like in trial, right? They cannot use these statements against you unless they invoke this warning. You have the right to remain silent, whatever. And if you voluntarily say an incriminating statement, they can use that against you. So it's little things like this to keep in mind. And like I said, it can be very confusing. And if anyone, I'm here to reach out to me, we can really talk it slowly. But just a quick, simple example. Sachi's, okay, you have Amy and Sachi. Amy, I'm someone who just is being accused of stealing this pen, right? Sachi comes up. She's a police officer. And I genuinely did not steal this pen. So the police officer is like, okay, Amy, I'm going to, how do I say it? He wants to arrest me, right? Sorry, I'm confusing myself now. He wants to arrest me, and he has to invoke the warning. Amy, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say or do will be used against you in the court of law. Okay, so now he said that. And then I'm like, and then he asked me, Amy, did you steal this pencil or this pen? Yes, I did, officer. I did. I didn't mean to, whatever. Okay, he can use that statement against me in trial. Okay, now hypothetical two. If did I steal the pen? Police officer comes up to me, didn't give me a warning, didn't give me a Miranda, and I voluntarily say, "Oh, I stole this pen. I didn't mean to." Can use it against me because I voluntarily. Okay. However, third hypothetical, police officer comes up to me, um, didn't give me a warning, and I he asked me, "Okay, did you steal this pen? Tell me now, or else I'm going to arrest you," using coercion or any type of just energy that's just uncalled for. And then I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, officer, I did." Nope, I have Sixth Amendment right to counsel. I can get an attorney, and he cannot use that statement against me because one, he didn't give me a warning, that Miranda warning, and and yeah, and then two, last scenario. I know I'm all over the place, but this is so important. Police comes up to me and he's like, Amy, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say or do will be used against you in the court of law. And I say, I would like an attorney. I do not want to speak with you. He must abide by that and not speak to me. He or she must not probe any more information and be done. So it's little things like that. Like people should know. I hope that made sense, but it's like you have a right to remain silent. You have a right to get an attorney. You have a right not to speak to them. So just something to keep in mind.
No, that made total sense. I'm so glad we had this conversation because I did not know that. I think that if a police officer tried to coerce me into saying something, even after saying I needed an attorney, I would still tell them. And that's really good
Yeah.
to know that I don't necessarily have to do that, or even just being mindful of the fact of if they don't give you a warning at all. Because I mean, I think all of us have seen like some type of show with lawyers in it. And so we hear those words, but I don't think I fully understood how they are used to protect me and how like if I actually really found myself in that scenario, how
Yeah.
to manage that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
And I hope I kind of got jumbled with my words there, but I hope I articulated it good enough. And again, if I wasn't clear, if anyone does want to reach out to me, or if you ever want to reach out to me to talk to me about it, such, like, I'm happy to really take it slow because it's a very difficult, it's complex wording. And I'm trying to make it very simple. And I'm slightly a little hungover from last night with my friend, so I'm trying to reel it in. But I hope that made sense. I really do.
no, it makes total sense. And yeah, this is a safe space. You went out last night. I totally understand. And I feel like that was clear. And I will put, links to you and all of your resources, like your TikTok, in the bio of this on YouTube and when it becomes a podcast as well. So if anybody does want to reach out to Amy and ask her questions about this, you are welcome to do so. You'll be able to find her in what's it called? The bio section. My brain tapped out for a second there too.
Okay. It's okay.
But I'm really glad we had that conversation because that was actually information I also really needed to know and hear for myself. I've been blessed to not have been pulled over so far in like alone, at least like I have in a group setting. And that was a very weird situation. It was like it was in California. And the way that they approached them was also very weird. But I was maybe 20 or so at that time. So I mean, we were just all scared. Like nobody
Yeah,
really
yeah,
thinks about I wasn't even paying attention to what the police officer was really saying to us or anything. I just like you said, that it's intimidating talking to someone or even having somebody like that talk to you. And I feel like to an extent I shut down a little bit and was just like, I don't know. I just don't want to go to jail. I have African parents. I can't go to jail.
it's scary. It's really scary. It is. It's, it's scary. So, but again, there's so much to learn. And the law, it's not simple.
Mhm.
And that's why a lot of attorneys get paid the big bucks because it's very complex. And a good attorney can really break down complex legal terminology into simple terms. And I'm still working on it.
Mhm.
I'm still trying to get through it. But that's something that's definitely needs to be talked about more, and especially with Black and Brown communities. There's so much to know when it comes to our criminal justice system.
I'm so glad to hear that you're a resource for that. And I definitely
Yeah,
understand legal things just being so complex. I hate looking at any contracts, anything of that nature. It's not the jargon and the words. And I know that the words are really powerful in law. So, like, the
yeah,
technicality of how things are presented to you, like, I understand why
mhm,
people are paid to sort through that because it's a lot, especially for the average person. Like, not even just talking about UCLA grads, that being a lot, but just like truly the average American. I'm sure nobody really looks at the terms
mhm,
and conditions of things. And I think there was a Black Mirror episode about that actually as well, where they like put in the terms and conditions that they could steal your identity, and they made a whole episode about how your identity could then become a character without your consent and what that could look like. And just even little things like that, like we aren't really paying attention. So I'm glad that we're having this conversation so that people can be more aware of like what the laws are and what your rights are and like what to pay attention to, because those laws do dictate how things work, and that can influence how your life works positively or
yes,
negatively.
yes, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's important.
Okay. I know we've been dancing around the idea of race, and you and I are both Black women as well. But as a young Black female lawyer, how do you feel that you are using your voice and your platform to advocate for important legal and social issues? And do you have any advice to people about how they can also do the same? I think what you did just now was kind of an example of it, of explaining it to us and breaking it down in like an average person terms, giving a scenario. But what are some of the ways that you feel like you're able to use your voice to discuss those issues?
Right. So I think I did that. I feel like a lot of my work throughout UCLA and in law school. And I'll talk about how what I do now, but I would say throughout UCLA and law school, I took on leadership positions. I was the president of the Black Pre-Law Association at UCLA, and I was the president of the Black Law Student Association at my law school, and also very involved with the Latino and Latina organization, La Raza in law school. Um, I It was so important for me to be a part of these groups because it's like in these groups we would host networking events. We would just have events where we would just push people to go to law school. That was a lot of work I did in UCLA. Come on, like we can go to law school, you can do this, and provide them with resources and networking opportunities. And in law school, it was mainly like we would I was hosting events where current Black law students, I wanted them to connect with attorneys. I was reaching out to attorneys on my own, inviting them to my campus, and then trying to connect them with Black students and, providing opportunities for them, who I felt that these were amazing attorneys that could really help them. A lot of us, like especially me, I grew up with I'm the first in my family to be an attorney. I grew up with no lawyers around me. So that's huge. So first step is just providing opportunities to the Black community when it comes to law. And now where I am is, I haven't been doing a lot of work, honestly, like in the space as far as like advocacy and like social justice work where I'm at right now in life. But I do feel the trajectory that I'm on to just with my success of wanting to, financially be well off eventually when that comes, um, on a higher level where I'm at now, I do want to be able to give back because I do feel like I can't help my communities without money. Like I'm not going to be, I can't do it broke. So I want to make some money and be able to give back. And in that sense, whether it's, I would love to speak to um, schools eventually. I would love to, talk about my journey, what it takes, and encourage. I could see myself doing that. But I would say, right now I'm in a space of just building myself for that higher woman. Amy, that higher girl does that. She does a lot of that. And I'm working towards that. But I have done throughout my schooling, I've done, that type of work. But right now I'm in a space where I'm like building. I'm isolated and I'm truly building like myself to get to that point, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. I mean, you can't really build for other people, like the airport, I guess, analogy or airplane analogy, where you can't put oxygen on other people if you haven't put oxygen on yourself first.
Yeah,
So I understand that this is a time and a space that is necessary in order for you to be able to give back in the senses and the ways you want to, by
absolutely.
taking care of yourself first. Like that is, I mean, and kind of like what we talked about earlier, you being or becoming your best self is a form of advocacy because it is an example for people, whether or not you're trying to be, like just your presence in those spaces and you representing people in those spaces, no matter what work you're doing, I feel like is already itself an example of showing other people what that can be, what that can look like. The fact that we're having this conversation today, I feel like is another form of it as well.
Right, right. I
Yeah.
agree. I definitely agree.
Yeah, but I definitely understand where you're coming from on that. Do you have any advice just for, I guess, it could be to law students or it could just be to people in general about how, to best also present that information to other people or share those resources, or I guess how to advocate, whether that's a law student or whether that's an average person?
You said, I'm sorry, you kind of cut off on that last part. You said to advocate.
Yes.
What advice do I have with regard to advocating? You know, I would say keep in mind the power of advocating, like just being an advocate for yourself on behalf of someone is powerful. You know, I would advise like just everyone to speak up for themselves and for others when you see, something is wrong. And that's essentially what an advocate does. And not to undermine that. So always keeping that in mind. So I would say my main advice would just be yeah, just be yourself, give it your all, whatever it is that you decide to do, and just if you're going to advocate, just be your best at it and give it your all. And don't ever take no for an answer. If it's something that you want, you're talking to the wrong person, you're at the wrong door. If there's something that you truly want, you can get it. And don't ever allow anything to stop you and be your own advocate. Sometimes it's like you're going to take time to advocate for yourself. And that's where I'm at right now. It's just advocating for myself, growing and and going for it. And you can do whatever you put your mind to. I would leave everyone with that. You can do it.
That is a great piece of advice. Even breaking down what it really means to be an advocate, because I think that's
Yeah.
like a word that gets thrown around a lot, but like it is
Mhm.
simply just speaking up for yourself and for others. And I feel like we might also forget that. Like the average person might forget that you have an opportunity to do that every day, usually, or every week for sure, to either
Yeah.
speak up for yourself or when you see something happening. I remember there was a show like in the 2000s, I feel like, where they would put people in these scenarios and then see how the outside people around them would respond, like a girl being kidnapped in a public place, and people would just watch and be like, whoa, that looks crazy, instead of like actually trying to stop. And it was really disappointing to see how few people stood up and spoke about things like really overtly bad situations, and you're watching it. and they just kind of were like, wow,
Yeah,
that's crazy. Instead of really just speaking up, and you don't realize how much power your voice has when you do that. And speaking up for yourself too, like how much power that has over your life and over what ends up coming to you, I feel like.
yeah, yeah. It's so important. It's so important. Just speak up. And when I say this, I'm also telling myself this because I feel like for the longest I had a period where I would just, not speak up, defend myself. I would hold things in, and I've made a conscious decision. And maybe this even too played a role in why I wanted to be an attorney, why I wanted to be this powerful person for myself, to speak up for myself and defend myself. Because, there was times where I felt like I didn't speak up in certain situations that I regret. And, you don't want to hold that. So I encourage people to speak up when something is bothering you right away. Don't let it harbor. Speak it up right away. If you see something wrong, defend if you can in a safe way and be cautious and speak up. Just
Okay.
speak up. Mhm.
That's great advice. It's simple and it's not
Yeah,
easy, but it's simple.
yeah,
And it's something
yeah,
anyone can do no matter where you are in life right now.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I know obviously we don't have to get too deep into some of these situations, these scenarios, but if you're open to talking about it, is there a specific moment or event, I guess particularly in your legal journey, but it could be in life in general, that drastically changed your path or your perspective?
Um, I would definitely talk about my experience. Uh, yes. So in law school, or let me back up a little bit. Before going into law school, I initially had this goal. Okay, I want to be a criminal defense attorney. This is my goal. I was so sure of it. And inside, it's still in there. But back then, I was 100% sure. No one could convince me otherwise. And my first internship was with the LA County Public Defender's Office. And during that time, it was COVID. So a few times I would go in the office, but majority of the time it was remote internship work. So I was at home doing briefs and just research, all these things at home. However, when I did go into the public defenders building in downtown LA, and this is no knock to public defenders, this is no knock to just criminal law. I love it. I think it's important work and I love public defenders. But for some reason, when I went into that office, I felt, I saw, the elevators barely working. I think I even saw like a little cockroach in one of the offices. Very run down building is what I'm saying. And to people may laugh like Amy, like people may not take those things seriously, but going back to taking care of yourself, this is very important to me where I work, the environment. Like I keep in mind of even little things like this. And I'm like, Amy, like, do you see yourself in an office here? And I am not putting down public defender's office. I'm not putting down that building, but for me personally, I didn't feel motivated there. I felt stress. The environment was causing me stress. It was pushing me in versus lifting me up. And just by little things as me seeing a little cockroach. And I bet you no one even paid attention to that. Everyone's so busy as an attorney and then little law clerks there. They're not paying attention to these things. But I'm looking around at the details because for me, success comes from the details for me in my life. It's the details. And I'm looking at just, do I see myself here? And it was in that decision, I was like, okay, I don't want to be a public defender anymore. Literally because of the environment. I mean, I don't want to fully say, okay, I saw a cockroach and I don't want to be a public defender. I don't want to make it seem like that, but it was, you know, the rundown building. It wasn't being kept up. And I saw how stressful the attorneys was, not because of the rundown building, maybe so, maybe not, but or that played a part, but because of how stressful it is with the numerous clients. A lot of people can't afford an attorney, so there's so many clients, so they're not getting paid enough, and it's just not clean, good environment, not getting paid enough, dealing with people that are suffering from mental health issues. So the whole culmination, I was like, I can't. I can't. So that was a turning point after my 1L year. I was like, this isn't for me. I'm not going to succeed here. I love criminal law, but how do I get to the criminal defense attorney goal, but not this way? And throughout law school, even to this day, everyone tells me, Amy, you want to be a great criminal defense attorney? You need to start in the trenches. You need to, you go to the public defender's office, learn, and then, go from there. But it's like, I don't know, I'm still figuring out my path. But I just know that's not for me. That's not for me. But so now I ended up here doing workers' comp where I have an office looking over a view, clean, spacious, I can breathe. And I know it sounds ridiculous, and some people might listen to this and be like, this girl might feel entitled or like bougie, but it's not that. It's truly like I've recognized the significance of something as simple as a safe, clean space. And the people around me play a role in that. So when I say safe and clean space, it's not only physical, it's not only like physical aspects of a space, that entails people, individuals. Your space is your people around you too. And I saw the stress and the anger. Some people would be very snappy at the public defender's office, and it's not their fault. It's nothing personal, but it's because of the space, and some of them don't even recognize it. And it's okay, and some of them love it, and that's okay. But for me, I just felt like I wouldn't thrive there. And I really hope people don't see it as like, oh, she's so busy. She thinks she's better. No, I just need to be in a space for me to thrive and be successful. That's just the only way for me to do well is to be in these spaces, in this particular type of space and people, certain people that I have to be around that have a similar mindset as me. And the firm that I'm at, I'm happy to say, just meets my expectations and I'm happy. Um, so yeah, that was a huge changing point for me. I hope that
Okay.
makes sense. Yeah.
That makes total sense to me. And to anyone who listens to this later who judges you for wanting that type of space for yourself, I feel like weird energy, because
Yeah.
you're the person who has to go into that every day.
Yes.
Your own body at heart, and I'm a huge advocate as well for your space, like where you live. Even like UCLA, I chose that school as opposed to other schools because of the way the energy and the environment influenced me. And I feel
Yeah.
like especially for work, because we spend so much time at work, like just as people, like you should be in a space that motivates you and that feeds back into you. And like spaces that take away from you, it's not beneficial to you or to the community that you're serving long term, to be in a
Yeah.
place that makes you unhappy. And like you said, I think you mentioned at some point, there are some people who will go into that type of environment and that motivates them. And there
Yeah.
are some people where it doesn't. And that's fair for both. Like no side is, or no person is better than the other for like needing that in their life. Cause some people will go there and like they feed off of that. They want to make sure, that people, and that's fine for them too. And there are some people who, whoa, I am also a person who that probably would be very difficult for me to be around every single day, especially long days or long nights, and just
Yeah.
everybody else's energy, even the anger that you described.
Mhm.
I feed off of people's energy. So if
Yeah.
everyone is angry, you will also start to become like either angry or resentful. And that translates into the rest of your life. And for some
Yeah.
people, they can maybe compartmentalize that better than others. I already know I'm a person who couldn't. Like, and it's not conscious, but those things do influence you. So I have respect for you for that. And if anybody gives you any weird energy about that, I feel like they're weird because they're not the ones who have to go in there every day and work with
Period.
people and be around the energy all the time.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, definitely I just recognize it. It's just about knowing yourself, what works for you, what doesn't, and that's just what works for me. And but till this day I do respect public defenders and what they do. It's crucial, and I pray and wish that they get more recognition and more respect that they deserve for the work that they do. But yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
That makes sense. That makes total sense. I hope that for them as well too. Obviously, that is an important job, and so I
Yeah.
do think they deserve to have better spaces because they're doing really important work. But there's a lot of jobs that people do that are very important that don't really get appreciated, whether that's like financially or even in the way that they get taken care of by like the government or the city.
Mhm.
So that's like a universal problem, and I hope that that does get resolved.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But continue to do you, Amy, do what you gotta do for you. That's when, you benefit the world the most is when you're doing what's best for you.
Thank you. Mhm.
Yeah. Of course.
Thank you. Same to you, Sachi. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank
Do
you. Thank you. There's been definitely, I'm sure for you too, lots of like high and low fluctuation periods in life, but I have a very similar vision to you in terms of a higher self
okay.
version of myself. And I've really been trying to work towards her. And I think there have been moments where in my life where I've been closer to her than others. And sometimes I get lost and I get distracted. Things are going on and I'm not necessarily doing what I'm supposed to do that she would do. But
Yeah.
that vision also does guide me home as well. And it has helped me to understand certain things that I want to do for myself and don't want to do for myself. And even like you said, for your workspaces, that's kind of what happened with me and with STEM. I still love science, but that's not what I'm doing today
Right.
proper. But that environment, it took more out of me than it gave to me. Like I wasn't being filled in the way that I needed to, just being a black girl in that environment. There's almost zero black people there. So the comments that people made, or just sometimes they would give me busy work and I could feel that it was busy work. And I just was like, I can't be it. Some people I know thrive in that. They're like, this is a challenge. I want to take that challenge. But I could feel other people's energy and how much it was weighing me down. And I was like, this is not, I'm not serving humanity in the best way because I'm not really serving myself. I'm like allowing this space that isn't best for me.
Yeah. 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 It's so important to have that vision. And like you
Hmm.
said in the beginning of the live stream, that not everyone has that clear vision. And if you don't, it's okay. It takes time. I didn't have this clear vision. When I was younger, it developed over time. And it's important to have it to always just keep that in your mind when you're picking even like friends, for example. Do these friends align with that higher her? Does this decision align with that higher her? Does this thought process align with that higher her? My higher Amy, she's confident. She's beautiful. She's caring. She's loving. She's smart. She's witty. So when I have these moments, if I'm feeling, I might be feeling insecure one day, or I'm not feeling as confident. I'm tripling over my words. Like even, like 10 minutes ago when I couldn't um, fully articulate what I was trying to say, I had it mentally, but with the whole police officer example, and I'm thinking in the back of my head, like, come on, Amy, like I'm beating myself up for that. Cause I was like, I hope my message was clear. But I'm like, no, I made a mistake and that's okay. I'm not gonna be perfect always, but I have this, and that's the higher Amy too. It's like you have to make mistakes. You have to get comfortable speaking in front of people. You have to fail to be great when it comes to anything, and it's okay. It's totally fine.
What came to mind when you said that was the third law of life, or Amy's third law of life, about being comfortable, becoming comfortable with failure and uncomfortability, because that's
Yeah,
definitely a process,
yeah, yeah,
and it's an active process. And I don't think, particularly that rule or any of them, really ever go away. Like every time you level up yourself a little bit, there's still things that you're going to fail at, or there's still going to be uncomfortable situations. And so then it restarts itself again. And being able to sit in that, because also people tend to back down or get small when failure happens or uncomfortable things happen, but to keep going or to continue to shoot for big energy instead of like letting
mm,
failure make you small, I think is really important too, because I'm from personal experience too. I like that was something I had a difficult time with in the early 20s, and now trying to do kind of the third Amy law of life of just sitting in that failure and then
yeah,
uncomfort sometimes and just let it teach me what it's supposed to teach me. Let's move on from it. It's not the end of the world. Whereas maybe 6 years ago, I'd be like crying for 4 days and letting it really feel like it's the end of the world.
yeah. It's hard, and you are absolutely right. Thank you for using my law against me. It's true. Like I have to be reminded sometimes, and even write it down to a point and remind myself. I tell people too that like whenever you feel down, it's good to have a list of accomplishments, like 10 of them, or even five of things that you're very proud of. If it's you got into UCLA, you graduated, you're an attorney, you passed the bar, or, you lost 20 pounds, you went to the gym, whatever. And, when you're feeling down, to just read the list. Remind yourself of things that you've done, things you've overcame. It's important. But you're right, like failure and anxiety, uncomfortability, when you mess up, when you make a mistake, or you may feel like you look dumb, or these little things. It's so, it, we have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable, no matter what. You know,
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah, that's definitely it's a process. It's not something that I feel like
Mhm.
anyone can do in a day or like
Yeah.
do at once. It definitely keeps happening. Every time I feel like I'm comfortable with something, then there's something new about myself that I'm trying to work on that's uncomfortable again. So
Always something.
yeah, exactly. So I feel that. And I do like how you describe that for just how it resonates with everything, like your higher self using that vision to guide. Is this the type of friends that I would have? Is this the type of decision I would make? Are these the habits? That's a big one I've been doing lately, or at least reminding myself, are these the habits that higher self Sachi would be doing? And if it's not, then I mean, you have no reason to be upset if it's not working for you, because that's not what she would do anyways. And I know for the friends one too, that was a really big transition for me at UCLA. I think it was around when we lived together with that. There's a whole life cycle shift. And we talked about it like sprinkled before getting on this, but like Josh, Ashley, that whole dynamic of people got removed from my life. And it created space for me to build healthier friendships now that I have with people that I still talk to today who are so much better for me and the type of people that higher Sachi would interact with, and not people who were just like also taking from me, whether that was energy or mindset or even like preying on my lows. Like there are people in your life who will be happy to see you low, and I didn't even realize that. And removing myself from that environment, that's really important too. So like choosing the environments that you want to be around, I feel like everybody has a right to do that, because you have to live with that. Like you have to live with those friendships, you have to live with that work environment, you have to live with the habits that you're doing every day. So what you choose for yourself, I mean, people will always judge because there's just negative people in the world, but nobody really should be judging for that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's just something to keep in mind to develop that clear vision so you can kind of weed out what's not aligned with it. You know?
Mm, I
So,
like how you said that. That was like very beautiful. I'm definitely gonna screen grab that quote that you just did there.
dropping a gem, dropping a gem,
Drop it. You dropped a lot of gems.
dropping a gem. But yeah, it's true. It's true. It's true. You know? Yeah.
So I've come to my last three questions, but they're deep questions. And I change them every time. But every single episode I've ever done with anyone and will ever do with anyone, I always end on self-discovery questions. And this is really for you and then for other people as well.
Okay.
My first question to you is, and this kind of like plays on the idea of, I know you said higher self Amy wants to leave an impact.
Ooh.
So if you could leave behind a message or piece of wisdom for future generations, future people, what would it be and why is it important to you?
Um, I'm gonna say the saying, take take it one step at a time. That's something that's very powerful for me. That's something that I always keep with me. Take it one step at a time. Whatever it is that you're doing in life, whatever it is that you decide to do, whatever goal you have, take it one step at a time. And I've told some friends this before, but envision yourself at the bottom of a staircase and you have a million steps in front of you, like literally a million steps. If you look up, you see the each step that you have to go through. It's so draining. It's so anxiety, but feeling like, oh my gosh, like how am I going to get through this? But if you put your head down and literally just take it one step at a time without looking to your right, looking to your left, looking upwards, like looking backwards, you're literally just putting your head down and taking it one step at a time, you'll be at the top before you know it. You're going to have people trying to push you off the stair. You're going to have people trying to put oil on the floor to make you slip, to fall backwards. You're going to have all these things, but you literally need to just take it one step at a time each time. And even if you fall, you get back up. So I think this analogy can apply to anything in life, whether you're trying to lose weight, whether you're trying to pursue a job, or you're, you know, you're getting a rejection letter. You're taking it one step at a time. Okay, that happened. Let's start over. Let's get back to the bottom of the steps. Take it one step at a time and keep your head down. So I would leave people with that. And it's liberating because you're not worried about upwards, side, backwards. You're literally just taking it one step at a time, and you will notice that you will have lesser anxiety, less stress when you kind of approach life in that way. So that's helped me a lot.
Okay. I actually really needed to hear that today. So that is a great piece of wisdom. And I think other people and the future generations that will resonate with everyone. It probably has been a truth since the beginning of time, I'm sure, and it will continue to be one for the rest of time. But even
Yeah.
in my life personally, there's a lot of things that I've been being very hard on myself on, and I've been trying to work on that because I want to get there faster. So I guess looking too high up on the stairs and being like, oh my gosh, I could see higher version Sachi, but like getting there seems like so far from today. And so the reminder of just taking things one step at a time, I think, is really important. And so definitely, so even the weight loss thing, I like lost a lot of weight in junior year, and then COVID gained it all back again. And so now I'm trying to go back to older quote unquote me, and even that's looking backwards. Last year I was having such a difficult time with comparing myself to previous me, to be like, well, she used to go to the gym at like midnight and be in there for an hour and a half, and like now I'm exhausted and I don't want to be in there for an hour and a half. But then I was like, well, you used to do that, and holding myself to that image has also set me back, because then I ended up doing nothing as opposed to just one step at a time, just go there for 30 minutes. And just
Yeah.
today you're going to go, or instead you're not going to eat cake by yourself. Like instead we make one better decision at a time.
It's tough. It's tough, but yeah, it is. It's something as simple as taking one step at a time. And just know too, greatness takes time. Like anything worth having, if you get it fast, you don't appreciate it as much. And you know, it's not long lasting. Like for example, like another analogy, like losing weight, you're taking, if you take diet pills, and nothing wrong with, to each their own, but it's like versus building a habit to want to lose weight and go into the gym, that will have longer lasting results. It takes longer and it's harder versus maybe some people might take diet pills and then it could come off faster or what do whatever. And again, to each their own, but it's, you know, anything worth having, it's going to be a process. If you get things quick, let's say right now I give you $1 million. Have you ever had $1 million before, Sachi?
No, I have not
So,
yet.
there's a tendency of like, if you were to have worked for that $1 million, really put in the time, you would have, if, and then you get it, someone hands you the check, you would feel like, wow, like I did that. You appreciate it, versus if I just give it to you, you'll appreciate it, but you're most likely you're gonna blow it. Like you're gonna spend it. Yeah, you might invest or whatever, but it's just a different mindset, if you get what I mean. Versus when you work hard for something, it takes time. Like you appreciate it and hold on to it more.
Yeah, I totally get that. And I agree too about everything. Just like working towards anything that could be professional goals or weight loss. Like even when I lost the weight before when I was at school, I had a deep appreciation for that version of me because she was not looking at the long term, I guess. Like I wasn't trying to do it for a certain goal. I just focused on the daily steps. If I'm going to make better habit, like do a better habit today. And that sustained itself much longer than like doing it for the wrong reasons, or trying to do it fast. Right now, I still end up being in the same place I'm at, where I'm not appreciating the slow, the I guess the baby step developments that I'm doing. I'm getting more frustrated, as opposed to when you're looking at it from a different mindset. Even with money too, I know that
Yeah,
money that's been given to me versus money that I earned feels different.
feels
100%.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah. That's a great piece of advice. I actually really needed to hear that advice today. So that's
Thank you.
awesome. And I hope it resonates for anyone else in the future who listens to this as well. Just take one step at a time. And
Yeah.
you'll get there. Like you said, you'll get there faster than you think. And I think that's an important part too, that even I forget for myself. It's like instead of focusing on how long it's taking you, if I just keep focusing on the steps, then I will actually get there at some point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And not even, and this might even twist your, you know, excuse my language, but I just have to say it. Like this will like literally mind fuck you even more. Like I'm gonna even take it a step further for you. Like you keep your head down and you're taking it one step at a time, right? To get to this goal, whatever goal it is for yourself, right? And then we have this idea of like, okay, that person or that job, whatever that goal is, we're gonna feel happy, like we've made it, like we got it, we're there. But the true key here actually is it's not even her. It's the process to get to her. Because without her, you wouldn't even have you can't even without her, without the process, you wouldn't have her. Is what I'm trying to say. So her is not the most important. The goal is not the most important. The most important thing when chasing a goal is the process, the failures, the tribulations, the obstacles, because that essentially is a culmination of who her is. You get me? I know it's crazy, but it's literally
Yeah.
the process that's the beauty, not her, essentially, in my opinion.
No, that makes total sense. I hear that a lot, but I think the way that you described it actually made it more real or
Okay,
more it made it more tangible because I feel
okay,
like that's a kind of a quote that goes on like stickers on fridges all the time, like trust the process. But then
yeah,
what does that actually mean? What does that actually look like and feel like? And the way that you just described that made it feel more real.
yeah,
Like it is all of that that brought brings you to the place that you want to be. It's not like that person doesn't just appear. And I think if that person did just appear, then we'd probably lose it a lot faster. Like if
yeah,
I just woke up tomorrow and I was like already the highest version of myself, quote unquote, I would probably fumble it because
yeah,
I didn't know how to maintain it and take care of it because I didn't go through the failures. It's but that is also uncomfortable to
yeah,
sit in that process and allow it to happen because you don't want to have to go through that all the time.
yeah. It sucks. It sucks, But when I think of it, when I am in those low points, and I think of it that way, like there's the process is the beautiful part. Essentially, it's like, okay, let me embrace it.
Yeah.
This is something for greater good,
Mhm.
so things are happening for me, not to me, type of thing.
Yeah.
So just keep that. It's something to keep in mind, when you're pursuing something big, something great. It's going to take time and enjoy the process, enjoy the ride. It sucks. It's an emotional roller coaster up and down, but enjoy it. Put your hands up, put your feet up, like just laugh at the anxiety sometimes. Don't even let it get to you. Don't,
Mm.
you know?
That's definitely a reminder. I'm gonna have to. I'll play this episode back one day and just remind myself. You gotta relax. Just laugh at life,
Just
Saj. It's
laugh.
okay.
You know, your
Yeah,
house is on fire, just laugh. It's okay. Laugh.
it'd be like that
It
sometimes.
really does. Just laugh. Anyway,
That's really good wisdom. I definitely think that will resonate. It resonated with me for sure. So I'm sure that this will resonate with others as well. And I think everyone who has a vision or doesn't have a vision hopefully can take that and apply it to their life. And hopefully it helps alleviate some of like even us talking about this alleviated some of my anxiety about that, like about
yeah,
that development that I'm trying to do. So I
yeah.
hope it does for others as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's awesome. And this has been awesome, Sachi. Like, thank you again for thinking of me and to want to do this with you. I was honored to be here and talk to you about it. And I love what you're doing. I love your Chai TV page on Insta. And, I followed you and I'm gonna keep up with you. And I just hope you keep doing amazing things. And I'm here if you ever need anything. And my number's still the same. So hit me up anytime.
My number is also the same, so I definitely will. And
Okay.
same to you. I appreciate you for just speaking with me today and sharing your truth today
Yeah.
and, giving people kind of a little insight into your story and your background because I think it has a lot of power in it. Just the things that you've walked through and then what you've learned from them and what has come out of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I appreciate that. I actually have like one final question for you that's
Yeah.
in line with this, but for you now, you're talking about the higher version of yourself. What are the areas of your life that you're trying to grow in, and how can I help growth slash how can listeners help support you and your work? Like, is the long term goal? Is it you need somebody to be present? Are you engaging with your content? Does that help you into the areas that you want to grow in? Like, what are some of the ways that myself and then others can support you?
Um, well, I see like with the type of work that you're doing and even just the type of questions that you asked me today in this live stream is just has forced me to really reflect on myself. And I think your work, it forces people to do that. Hearing other people's experiences allows people to resonate, to question their own, identity, their purposes, their perspectives, and challenge them. So, I love that, and I feel that that's something that I need to work on. That my higher self has mastered is this idea of being able to like know like oneself so well that you know what triggers you, you know if you're feeling, you can be able to recognize when you're truly feeling down or when you need to take a step to relax, because I can tend to just overwork. Just knowing yourself very well when you need to take breaks and little things like that. But the main point is that, you know, now I followed you and I love the stuff you post. And I think that will force me to, reflect, even if it's something, a simple post that you might post a quote or someone discussing an experience, something as simple as an Instagram post that I could be scrolling one day and be like, oh, that can play an impact on me if I'm feeling, down. It forces me, how am I feeling right now? How am I reflecting? So I just encourage you to keep just doing you, keep being you, and that will continue to help other people and in me, especially now in social media, the impact that can be made with that. And yeah, I would
Okay.
say that.
That's actually really, really, really encouraging to me.
Yeah.
You've articulated Chi TV and the impact I want it to have better than I've ever been able to articulate it, actually. Like what you just said is what I have really hoped for it to do. And when people ask me about it, I really don't know how to describe it. But what you just said is what I would love to see happen more. So that was encouraging to me. And I will continue to do that because I love the idea. Like we spend so much time on social media. My hope is that if you come across a Chi TV post, it will do that for you. Sometimes it'll be funny and sometimes it'll be serious and sometimes it'll be sad and it'll be happy and it'll have a little bit of everything, but it'll force you to be like, oh, like how do I feel about that? Or like, oh, how do I rebuild trust? Because I've been struggling with that. Or how do I, get more in tune with my intuition? Or like, what is masculinity and femininity? And like, how do I channel both of those energies? Like all of those, understanding and knowing yourself. I hope this environment continues to facilitate that type of reflection in everyone. So
Yeah.
that's beautiful. I love that you already got that from it. And I will continue to do what I need to do one step at a time. I'll do one post at a time, one episode at a time, and keep doing that.
Yes. Yes. Yep.
Okay. Well, that was my last question for you today. But I'm really glad we had this conversation. This is really, really good episode. I loved it. And I think a lot of other people will too. And you definitely, again, made another impact on me. So,
And you too, Sachi, you too. You remind me of you. So you have to enjoy the uncomfortability. It's true,
mm,
you do. And there's things I take from you as well. So it's both. It's both ways here. And thank you again for having me. And hit me up anytime. I love doing this, and I love to speak about anything with the law and my journey. So hit me up anytime.
sure. Maybe in a year or two from now, we can circle back and do a post bar results, when you're fully in lawyer life, and we could talk about that and how that's going for you as well.
Yeah, yes, I'll be happy. That's a whole nother beast. So yeah, we could dedicate a whole episode to just the bar because that's been a
Okay.
journey too.
I'm sure. Actually, I've met some people right now who are in law school, or somebody who's also just finished taking the bar, and so she's waiting for her bar results as well. So I'm sure that that would also be a very impactful episode. And I know your TikTok covers that as well, but just like your advice, really, for like navigating law school, 'cause there's a lot of people who need that advice.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep going with that. It sometimes can be discouraging, like you're not getting a lot of views or not a lot of followers on TikTok, and it's like you post a lot and still, but I'm gonna keep going with it. I'm gonna stick with the process and just see what happens. You know?
Okay, I love it for you. I'll definitely make sure to also follow the Legal Bay, right? I remember the name, and I've only seen sprinkles of your post too. So I'll
Yes, underscore legal bay. I'm trying to grow on TikTok, to spread some words about just my
okay.
journey and then law stuff.
Okay, I will definitely make sure to follow it as well. Anybody else who's listening to this in the future, please go and follow that. Or you can find Amy on Instagram and you'll be able to find the link to it in the bio of this video and podcast episode.
Yes. Thank you, Sachi. This was amazing.
Oh, thank you too. This was amazing. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. We have a long weekend a little. I don't know if you also have a long weekend or you still
I
have to work.
do.
Okay.
I do. Thank God. I'm asleep just today and tomorrow and eat.
Yeah, please do that. Very much deserved. Enjoy your long weekend.
Thank you. You too. Okay, Sachi.
All right.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.